Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. A while back, we checked out a new band called FROGG. I was quite ecstatic about them. It's a modern prog metal group. They've got not strings, they've got a keyboardist, two vocalists. The bassist is super sick. The guitarist has, crazy sweeps and technical performance stuff. The drummer does cool melodic stuff. It was 100% up my alley. The track was called Wake Up, and you go check it out. I don't even care if it's my reaction. Like, I don't even care about the views. Go give them views. Go check out that song. Wake Up was just phenomenal. And when I got an email that said, hey, Frogg's putting out a new one, I was like, yes, let's go. This track is called Dandelion. Let's dive into it. Ooh, playing around some dissonance. Cool choir bits. Is this the same band? Yeah, 4 months ago, this channel put out Wake Up. Huh. I'm trying to appreciate it on its own. This is one of those situations, right? So I've talked about this in the past. Going into any work of art with expectations is usually a bad thing. If the expectations are too high, it ruins it, whether you end up not liking it at all and expecting something up here and getting something down here, or even just expecting something really good and getting something mid and passing on something that you probably would have enjoyed otherwise. It's normally always better to go in with lower expectations or no expectations, but I also understand that we're humans and it's really tough to do. I went into this expecting something like Wake Up, and it's not. And so halfway through the song, when I kind of decided, okay, this is probably all I'm in store for, I tried to like re-gear my brain to focus on this and kind of explore it from that direction. I wonder if this isn't just a heavy track. Whatever album they're working on, this will be the heaviest on it, or maybe subsequently Wake Up will be the track that is the least like this. It'll be their most progressive song in a series of tracks closer to this. I don't know. I've only heard 2 tracks from them, so it's really tough to say what their de facto state is. But I will say, at least subjectively, this kind of bounced off of me, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to it, and I have to take that into account. Did this bounce off of me because it wasn't what I expected, or did it bounce off of me because I didn't enjoy it? And that's really going to take a second listen and a little bit more introspection. So I'll probably give this another listen sometime this week. Probably not today because time's getting real close to when I got to stop working. But yeah, it's not a great first impression, but I'm leaning towards the side that it's me and not them. So with that said, what are they doing? Let's look at things a bit more objectively. This is somewhere between death metal, deathcore, and melodic metalcore. And I only say those because different parts reminded me of different things. Particularly many of the more flourishy, faster guitar sections and the playfulness of the harmonic devices remind me a lot of early Between the Buried and Me, which is classified as metalcore. Progressive metalcore, but metalcore nonetheless. But the opening of the track put me in a really death mindset, and a lot of the odd, the dissonant, quick movements in the guitars, but both guitars are doing like notes that were not working together, that intentional dissonance and clashing of sound waves. That reminds me of deathcore. So, and even a little bit of post-hardcore, though, they tend to pick just 1 or 2 notes and lean into the dissonance rather than have a flurry of dissonance. And so it's a track that feels like it takes inspiration from a lot of the more aggressive sides of metal in varying capacities and smashes them together. It's pretty cool in that regard, how I can hear all these disparate influences, but none of them, I think, stand out on their own. I wouldn't say that any of them are the de facto baseline genre, and everything else is like a secondary genre for the track. They all work together in ways that are fluid and coherent. There is a lot of flourishy guitar stuff going on in here. Many of the melodic guitar sections tend to have faster notes in them, moving between, or actually utilizing both tight movements between notes. So stuff that would probably be all on the same string, or maybe you do 2 on one string and then like 3 on the next. But also there were some really big jumps that felt like every note was on a different string. And those are just going to be tough to play. So there's a lot of technical proficiency going on in here, at least on the guitar side of things. We haven't talked about anything else yet. And then of course there's the guitar solo, which is just pure shred, like 16th notes for 75% of it. just constant speed coming out of it. I would have liked something a little bit more melodic, but again, I think that's a subjective thing. I've made the same criticism towards a lot of shreddy guitar solos, and at the end of the day, I think they're just not my cup of tea. It's definitely not a bad way to craft a melody or a bad way to craft a guitar solo. I like more diversity in them. And, there's also the chance to get more diversity in the guitar work on the album as a whole, too. It's never really fair to focus in on one song from a group and say, oh, this is bad because it's too much of this one thing. Like, I might be missing it in the larger context of writing, of compositions. Um, but it was just a hair bit aggressive for me, but it fit the mood of the track, so it was probably the right call overall. The bass. This was something I was looking forward to because the bass in Wake Up was phenomenal, and I couldn't really hear it. I remember the production being a bit wider. There was more spacious, there was room for everything in it. This one feels more like traditional metal that tends to be guitar heavy rather than progressive rock or progressive metal, which tends to have more of a balanced production to it. This one certainly favors the high ends of the guitar over the low ends of the bass, and while I did hear some moving ideas from the bass, I often didn't hear them in the mix much at all. Now, again, do you want to point out, my ears are typically pretty bad with bass. So it could be that, well, it could also be my hardware as well. It could be that in the studio setting that they were recording this in with the probably more expensive hardware, headphones and stuff, maybe it works. Maybe if I used my speakers, I'd be able to hear the bass a little bit better. But at least in my experience here, in the same setting as listening to Wake Up, I find the bass more difficult to hear what they're actually doing. However, when I did pick up some of what they were doing, primarily when there's just less happening, I did hear some moving ideas, and I'm just going to extrapolate that and assume the bassist is still absolutely killing it. And then we come to the drums, and it's just all killer. No filler. The drummer's just constantly going. Always at a nice balance between functional drumming and melodic drumming. There's always little ornamental ideas, fills here and there. Even some of the more fundamental patterns that they employ tend to have a little bit of spice in them. Nothing is completely simple, but the drummer is primarily the metronome in this track. And, the vocals, they're what they are. There's a little bit of nuance to them, but they're very much a core style of harsh vocal, where they kind of have one tone, and that's what everything sort of revolves around. There's like 2 or 3 perceived pitches all within the same little pocket of range. So there's a little bit of diversity in contrast to the vocal delivery, but at least for my money, it's primarily textural and rhythmic more so than melodic, which puts so much weight on the guitar to be interesting and drive most of the song. It's the only thing that can be clearly heard and is melodic. It's not purely foundational. And it works, right? A lot of metal does that. I'm sure there's going to be people who listen to this and like, yeah, that's right up my alley. I love what they're doing. Bryan, everything you say is wrong. Don't be dumb about this. And yeah, they're probably right. I am not a metalhead. Even after 4 years of being exposed to the genre, I have a much better appreciation for it. But the more extreme styles are still not my cup of tea. I tend to like the periphery of the extreme styles, stuff that feels extreme but dabbles in everything else. I like contrast, and this song doesn't really do that. It sticks with its one extreme style throughout a majority of it. And so, I don't know. Again, I think it's just me. I came into this expecting some progressive metal, and I got something that was progressive, but less experimental and more focused on a metalcore sound. There are certainly some licks in here, some guitar ideas that I thought were absolutely stellar. The drum work is great, very consistent, and the bass sounds good when I can hear it. So maybe I just got to come around to it, right? But I do want to listen to Wake Up against Dandelion. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow I got off. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. And kind of see how I feel there on a second time listen for this and like a 10th time listen for Wake Up, because that song is just gold. Let me find some lyrics for this. We'll talk about that, and then that'll be the end of this video. Alright, so I did a little bit of looking into things because I found the lyrics on Bandcamp, which I find funny. Maybe it's because they put the lyrics in the video because it's a lyric video, so they assume they shouldn't have put it in the description. I didn't think to check the comments. Yeah, not in the comments either. But this isn't the first time I've seen do that, where I'll have to like play the lyric video to read the lyrics. I think more bands should know about this, that sometimes people just want to read the lyrics as poetry. So anyways, I had to go to the Bandcamp page, and at the bottom of it, I read the last stanza, and then underneath that I thought it was another stanza, but it's the personnel list. And there's only 3 people here, and I'm like, I remember like 6 from the Wake Up music video, so I fell down a rabbit hole. I found out they have a 2020 EP, which is really cool because I want to go check it out now. I didn't know they had more music. For whatever reason, I thought Wake Up was their first release ever. So I have a whole EP to listen to this weekend, which is pretty cool. However, there were a lot of people in here, but only one that is still in the band today. After this EP, 3 years later, in September 2023, they released Wake Up. That song shares the composer, guitarist, and harsh vocalist Sky Moon Clark, and the keyboardist and backup vocalist Emma Ray. Those are the only 2 people that made the change from the 2020 EP to the 2023 single Wake Up. The drummer and the bassist changed, they lost a rhythm guitarist, and moving into this track, we have another new bassist. The drummer's the same from Wake Up, but we no longer have Emma Ray, which explains the lack of female vocals on this track. It explains the lack of clean vocals and backup vocals, and honestly, keyboard stuff. The new bassist, Jack Lynch, does bass and modular synth, and there were some synthy ideas in here. We had the choir at times. We had a couple of pads going on in the background, but it was very subdued, not part of the composition, almost feels like an afterthought. We wrote this cool track. Oh, can I put, a synth pad in the background? Yeah, sure, go for it. Throw that chord down in the back and kind of fill the space out. That kind of idea. It doesn't feel like it's a core part of the composition like it did with Wake Up, which makes sense because they actually had a keyboardist playing. Assuming that this trio performs Dandelion on stage today, the keyboard stuff would probably be a backing track because the bassist would need to play bass. So it's even an afterthought as far as the live version goes. And I think this is both interesting and personally kind of sucks. Hearing a band go through so many personnel changes is very cool, I think. It's always interesting to see what parts of the composition end up sticking through the evolution, and you begin to attribute that to specific people. I bring up the Human Abstract a lot on this channel. They are easily one of my top 3 favorite bands. Every album has a totally different lineup on it. All 3 albums are also completely different. There really couldn't be any through line between them. We have technical death metal on one, progressive metalcore on another, and a progressive rock track, something closer to like Leprous than anything else for their second album. Every album's very different. And so I find that really fascinating, but it does suck for me personally because I don't know that the sound that I really enjoyed on Wake Up and what I might enjoy about A Reptilian Dystopia, their EP from 2020, they might not be able to capture that if these members aren't just missing from this track, but if they've left the band since September of last year. If it truly is just a trio now. Time will tell. We'll see how things go. Lyrically, I really love this. It utilizes a couple of different metaphors that all sort of push towards the same idea of wolves and sheeps, prey and predator. The chorus has this phenomenal opening line that I don't think is going to leave my mind for a while. It's impossible to coexist because they've got blood on their hands to match the blood on your wrists. I love that. The other side is asking you, the wolves are saying, hey, we need to coexist with each other. Don't get mad at us. We need to learn how to live side by side while they have your blood on their hands still. Yes, this is an angry song. It is full of harsh vocals. It is full of aggressive sounds, but it makes sense. The topic here is that we absolutely cannot back down and allow ourselves to be stepped on. And that line right there is so freaking good. But that's what this whole thing is about. It says, bled pale dry, empty-eyed, but it's never enough. I'm undermined, I'm killing time until I die. I need to rise up and fight back against this because if I don't, they'll continue to bleed me drop by drop until I have nothing left. It says, force-fed another anesthetic, numb me till I'm copacetic. That's pretty much every line in here. There's a lot of repetition of concepts. But yeah. There is no coexistence because coexistence to them is dominion over us. We can't allow that. We have to fight back. Their motive is clear, yet they always cry wolf to feast upon the sheep. So good. Yeah, the whole chorus is just fire. So the song makes sense in that perspective. It's quite possible this still ends up just being one of the heavier songs because of the lyrical concept behind it, and that maybe a future album lightens up a little bit. It explores more of the same sounds as Wake Up. I'm warming up to this track just based on the lyrics alone. I am going to give it another listen and see what's going on there with the right mindset. As I've said many times, it's important to have the right mindset going into something. There's been so many reactions that I've been a bit more negative about because I was expecting something totally different and felt disappointed. And it's kind of weird to have disappointment in a reaction. The whole point is to not know what you're going in for, to come in with a blank slate. But like I said, we're humans. It's kind of tough to do that with anything, much less on a consistent basis of twice a day. So I'm warming up to it. I'm still looking forward to their next track, but I'm a bit more apprehensive with it, which is probably a good thing. Keeps my expectations lower so that they can wow me. Those are my thoughts. FROGG's Dandelion. Let me know what you thought of this, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this, anything stood out to you in here. Maybe you have your own thoughts, perspectives, opinions on it. Toss all that stuff down in the comment section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, and a link to the Discord server, as well as a bunch of other stuff. There's like, I don't know, a dozen links in there. Go check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for the week. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC, to check out to check out an album. One that's been highly requested by a very small group of the audience, I think. I don't know how many people are really going to be excited for this drop, but I know we've checked out one song from them, and there was a floodgate that opened of people saying, please do the whole album. So we're going to do it. Musical Miracle, Hawaii, Part 2. That's tomorrow at 5. The funny thing is, I don't think many people who want that would be watching this to hear about the announcement. So maybe I'll have to promote that outside the channel. Get some eyes on it. We should also do a theme thoughts tomorrow, no? Spectacular endings? Yeah, I'll throw something together. I wasn't expecting to do that for some reason. We'll have that 10 a.m. tomorrow. Some theme thoughts about spectacular endings. Alright, until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.